Long-standing Foggy followers need no introduction to Fred the Head. Fred used to be an ornament when I was a holistic therapist. He's now a prop for when I want to explain head issues with ME and now long COVID. So today's video that Fred is going to help me with is going to explain my own personal experience of the difference between an ME headache and a long COVID headache. Now, I've written loads of blogs, done videos, included them in awareness talks, explaining what an ME headache feels like. Now, I'm not medically trained. This is entirely going to tell you what it feels like rather than what is actually happening. An ME headache, myalgic encephalomyelitis headache, I would assume is caused by our brain inflammation, because what it feels like is that if we were Play-Doh dolls and we were in the barber shop, you know what I'm talking about, the little plastic figures, and you put plasticine inside it, you put the top on and you push down and the hair comes out. What our headaches feel like is that our brains are this Play-Doh that's inside the skull, and the inflammation causes our brains to hurt, and the pain turn sideways on. The pain is kind of right smack bang in the middle of the skull, kind of around here, but it emanates out. So if we were a Play-Doh doll, our brains would be coming out through the holes due to the pressure. Literally feels like the pressure is going to burst out of our skull. It's like you've got 10 axes. Someone has embedded 10 axes in your skull. So with a blue pen, ME headaches are kind of here, but they go all over. But mine doesn't really come to the front of my head. This is my own personal experience. Don't forget, yours may well be different. But it kind of all over. And it feels like my brains are shooting out the top of my head if my skin wasn't holding it all together. That's what it feels like. The pressure is enormous. You can't think straight. Add that to your concentration and memory issues, and it's, oh my God, literally cannot function. And the ME Association and other charities describe it as headaches never previously experienced before. Yes. And it's not really any wonder that people get tested for things like brain tumours, because the pain is absolutely killing. However, long COVID headaches are very painful. I wouldn't say they're in the same league as this though. And when I say long COVID, you've got to remember that there are now known to be a handful of pre-existing chronic illnesses within the umbrella of long COVID, and also something completely new. So I may well describe something that somebody with another chronic illness might think, actually, I've got that. So if you think that, please do tell me, because I haven't been told what is causing my headaches, but it is a main feature of my long COVID. So long COVID is very at the front. So my long COVID, sorry Fred, is here all the way around. It's this front bit, and it goes down to about there. So it's this quarter here. I can wipe this off so I can do what I like to Fred. Yeah, it's in this quarter here. Sorry, I call it a quarter because it goes all the way around to the other side. It's literally the front. If it's a sphere, it's a quarter. So it goes all the front, left to right, but it's at the front, and it goes to about there. And it causes pain behind the eyes, which could be sinuses, but the core of it isn't behind the eyes. So this is kind of where my headache starts. So behind my eyes, but maybe an inch or two behind. It's kind of here. You see? So there. And then that kind of goes out. Oh, look, the blue looks darker. I knew that was going to happen. But yeah, it kind of goes out across, but the core of it is here rather than there where the ME headache is. And this causes eye pain, tingly forehead. Now, I used to have a tingly forehead with my ME, but this feels different. Tingly forehead, so I can completely understand why people think, oh God, there's a blood clot or a stroke or something going on there. I get pressure here. And now the pen's right now. Look, I knew that was I'm going to go back to blue, but you take my point. So yeah, so long COVID pressure here. And not all the time. I get allergy eyes, and my eyes are runny, itchy. I get little tiny, I don't know what you call it. They're not full with pus or anything like that. It's not a rash, but they're little tiny bubbles on my eyelids that are quite sore. Sometimes I have it at the same time as the headache, sometimes not. So I haven't quite worked out yet whether the eye thing is related to the headache. But yes, so anyone that says ME have headaches, it's the same thing, it's the same thing. It may be with some, but this is what I mean about the differences in headaches. This could be mast cell activation syndrome. I've got no idea. The long COVID headache, to reiterate, is at the front. It starts around there, and because it shoots out, it does affect my eyes. And it's, you know, like when you go, well, I've been to the doctor loads of times and he's made me press here and he said, oh yeah, no, I know why you're not feeling very well, that's your sinuses. My sinuses are not tender, but the pain comes from there and shoots forward. And like I said, it comes to about here. So yeah, so now I've drawn all over Fred. But yeah, so the forehead is tingly, but I did occasionally get that with my ME, but not all the time. Very hot forehead, whether I've got a temperature or not. But with ME, I used to get, well, I still do, get a very hot face. Wasn't necessarily concentrated on my forehead. But yeah, so I've got it now actually. And so like I say, the pain shoots up and you get like, oh, one thing I need to say. So the long COVID headache feels dry. It's a very strange way to describe it, but it feels like there is no moisture left in my skull in that front part. Now, for someone that's got excessive thirst and is absolutely no way dehydrated, I know it's not linked to my bodily fluids or anything like that, but yeah, the dryness is kind of here, and it literally feels like my brain is shrinking there, like really, really having the moisture sucked out of it. And the only word I can think of is dry. And so that's there, again, at the front of my head. So yes, ME headaches, in my own personal experience, are the worst pain, headache. I always say, headache? Is that what this is called? It's like a massacre. It's a head massacre. That's what an ME headache is. Long COVID headache, I would say, is, for me personally, about half of that. But it's the location that makes it a difficult one, because it is right at the front. And you know, sometimes you get like a stress headache and you can kind of rub it away. It's like, it's so bad. You just know that doing that isn't going to make any difference whatsoever. But it's all there and it affects behind my eyes. Like I say, sometimes it comes with sinus, runny nose issues, other times not. So it's not directly related, I don't think. Doesn't matter what I've eaten or anything like that as far as I can tell, but I'm doing a food diary now, so that might be enlightening. But yeah, so if anyone else can tell me if their long COVID is mainly at the front of their forehead, I would be very grateful. Because all I keep reading is headache, 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 but no one is actually talking about where the headache hurts. Like I say, ME is like massively right in the centre, and it just shoots out. Really painful. But the reason I'm doing this video is because last night, I had an ME headache, and it was like, oh, this is familiar. And it made me realise that my long COVID headaches are, I've been saying it for a while, but I had clarity last night and I thought, no, it's in a different part of my brain. Something else is happening here. So yeah, so long COVID is there, ME is there. In my world anyway. Let me know what your thoughts are. Hope that wasn't too rambly. Sorry, Fred, for drawing all over you. But yes, both headaches are bad, but that's the differences. And I do think that long COVID headache is worse because it gives you this, it kind of affects your eyes, and because that's such a delicate part of your head, I suppose it feels really bad. But actually, having something in the core of your brain there, when you literally feel like your head's going to explode, yeah, they're completely different headaches, but both bad. Lots of love.